Okay, moving along very, very swiftly, and I've got two colleagues now who are going to talk about those transferable skills that we touched on earlier, and I know colleagues that discussed that. And I'd like to introduce David Watkinson and Rob Lowe, both podiatrists who are both from an armed forces background, who are going to talk about transferable skills. And I'm not sure who's going first. I think is it Dave going first or Rob? I don't know which. I can't remember which is the next slide deck. So I'm going to hand over to both Dave and Rob.
Dave's first.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, right. Next slide then, because we need your slide deck. Okay, thank you.
That's me. That's me. Hopefully everybody can hear me. So, as Paul said, my name's Dave Watkinson. I am ex-armed forces. I was in the Royal Armoured Corps. And I became a podiatrist in 1996. Obviously very different in many ways being a podiatrist to being a crewman in an armoured fighting vehicle, but there are a lot of transferable skills that cross over from the armed forces into NHS and podiatry. So I started as a podiatrist and then I moved into lecturing at UCL and then here at University of East London. I then moved out of lecturing really into more management as head of department and then as a director of quality and compliance, which was probably the job most similar to the army in a way. It was almost like being an adjutant. I was in charge of rules and regulations, so I enjoyed that. I thought that was really good, and it linked very much into what I would have done in the army. I'm now back part-time because I will retire in a couple of months' time. I think I've put on my slide there Army's values and NHS values, and there's a difference between them, but there's also quite a lot of similarities there. Respect for others and respect and dignity, integrity, compassion, discipline in the Army, commitment to care, but a lot of there around loyalty, commitment, and then NHS values, teamwork, working together, everyone counting. So I think a lot of the values that you have in the armed forces are very similar to the ones in the NHS. And transferable skills, I found that certainly as a student, my work in the army and the skills that I'd got from the army and the values that I'd got from the army held me in really good stead for being a student. So obviously I was very used to turning up on time, being disciplined, meeting deadlines. It always amazed me that if a deadline was there, how many other students couldn't meet that deadline, would have problems. In the army, in the forces, a deadline is a deadline and you meet the deadline. And that I think held me in really good stead as a student, and then also in the NHS. I think Rob will say exactly the same from when he was a student there. And then as moving into the NHS, working as leadership, working as a team, all of those things that you take from the armed forces, and you instill those into the NHS. It is the thing I found most about it was that you are working in a team, but as I'm sure you've heard from the other speakers this morning, you are autonomous. You're an autonomous practitioner. So you're working within a team, you have objectives, but you are also making your own decisions. And that in a way is similar to work in the army. You have an objective as a section commander or as a member of a section or a troop, but you're making your own decisions within that. And I found that really good. I liked working within a team, but also having to rely on my own confidence, my own leadership skills, etc., to do that. I think we are running a little bit behind, so I'll not go on. I'll hand over to Rob for his input as well.
Okay, is Rob on the call? I don't know if Rob.
Yep, here I am.
Yep, brilliant. Okay, over to Rob.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, and good afternoon to everybody. Thanks very much for inviting me on. Mine's just a bit of a pretty picture timeline of me. My route into podiatry was very similar to lots of other people, really. The difference with myself was I had a full career. I did 27 years in the Navy, joined in 85, went outside in 2012, and sort of found podiatry by accident. my my wife, funnily enough, said she's off to a podiatry open day and wanted me to go along with her. And this was with me probably having about 2 years left to do of an extended career. I went along to see what podiatry was all about, and I was hooked straight away. I spent the vast majority of my career, 22 years, as a PTI and an exercise rehab instructor, and had a deep interest, as Emma was earlier on, as a PTI, interest in musculoskeletal issues, biomechanics, things like that, and it really sort of looking at the Podiatry Open Day, and as everybody's seen today already, the multitude of directions that you can go into really ticked every single box that I could wish for. And as with all of us in the military, the end of our career comes around at some point, and you've got to look at some point as to where you're going to go next. And this really highlighted where I wanted to go. So both myself and my wife left work. I left the Navy and went straight into university. The thing I particularly liked about podiatry is that I could go straight into private practice. And when I graduated in 2015, I bought an ambulance, as you can see it there. I'm based down in Plymouth. And this really driving around in my ambulance was great fun, running my own business, doing my own thing, running my own diary. But I was able to access lots of clientele, lots of patients that other practices perhaps couldn't do, and it worked really well. The other thing I did is move down the picture is when I went into private practice, I joined lots of business networks. And it was a really good way to show podiatry to the masses, with people that perhaps wouldn't have previously experienced it. And there we're shown actually a former W01 Army that's moved into the locksmith business now, doing an assessment on his feet and showing the rest of the business network what it was all about. Subsequent to running the business, I took up, there was some locum opportunity that came around with the MOD, and I did that for about a year, and then went for an interview and got that as a part-time position. So now I work in the regional rehab unit within the military down in Plymouth. It's one of the jobs that I really wanted to know, because when I was an exercise rehab instructor, I'd come across podiatry in the past working within the military, and I thought that might be quite useful. We're MSK specialist podiatrists, and you can see a picture there of some of my colleagues who are also work for MOD. For those eagle-eyed amongst you that probably from the army might identify those steps as coming from the left-hand side of the parade ground at Wellington Barracks. And we go around the country. We provide MSK services to all of the military personnel and MPGS, and are the gatekeepers for non-issue footwear as well. It's a great opportunity. It's a great career. I particularly love it. And as I've said or alluded to, the variety of practice is what drew me to the profession in the first place. And I would recommend it to anybody. As everybody has said, there is so much transferable skills from the military that you'll bring into your podiatry practice. And it's not just for the, it is the right time, right place, right rig, the teamwork, the leadership. But I think the other thing is that generally we are really good with working with people. And I think podiatry is a people game, as are the rest of the allied health professions. But if you can be a people person, you'll build rapport a lot better, and you will get a lot better history from your patients. And as a result, we'll be able to educate them, encourage their concordance with your practices. And I think that's what I found is worked really well. Being in the people business and being able to connect and help people be the best that they can.